Hello and welcome. My name is Radha, and I'm the founder of Radha Publishing House. We curate multidimensional books that awaken the heart, invigorate the soul, and create meaning in people's lives. Today, we have a very special guest, Michael Barrios. He is a holistic trainer and lifestyle coach. And today, he so generously shares his experience in the infinite cosmic records based on his sessions with Maya the Shaman. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you for having me, Rada.
Oh,
I'm
so wonderful
excited.
to see you. Yes, I'm excited too. Um, do you mind telling us a little bit about your experience with the Infinite Cosmic Records?
Yeah. Um, I had the honor of going through nine doors. And through those nine doors, it allowed me to see different aspects of myself, different parts of myself that I forgot, and that we all have these things before this life.
Mhm.
And I was able to have a good insight on why a lot of the things are happening in my life, or kind of like maybe why. So, and my experience going through each door was, I mean, it was fun, it was exciting, but it was also, um, I didn't know what was gonna happen through each door because I went through so many. So,
Well, the great mystery. Isn't it interesting how like the doors, when you go up there, at least for me, they line up, on two sides. Uh,
mhm.
was it like that for you?
Sometimes that's funny because I remember a few of them were lined, and then one was in front of me, and there was three doors that I got to choose
Mm.
from. And so, yeah, each door was intricate and beautiful in its own way. And the pull, I just went with the pull to whatever door took me. And so, do you want me to go into
So cool. I'm like, yes, tell us.
So because I went through so many doors, I'm just gonna go over the most profound one, which felt like the longest one, and then one that I thought was really cool that helped me kind of ground myself and center myself when I'm kind of in a kind of hectic or chaotic state. So the first door, sadly, I didn't, when I was rewriting it, I couldn't remember what it looked like, but I remember it was the middle door. And so that was that. But in the book, I write about how this specific door had so many different meanings. So I walk in, and usually a lot of the places that I go into, it has to do something with um, like grand landscapes.
Oh,
So
wow.
this landscape was, I started up top and I was looking down at kind of like a forest. And going in, I see a deer. I see a lot of different things, but in the book, I go more in what the deer means to me and what I think it meant to me, or what it means to me. And so I see a deer, and well, let me backtrack why I went to the Cosmic Records.
Yes.
I went into the Cosmic Records because um, at that time in my life, it felt like I was inside a hurricane.
Mm.
My relationship with my son's mom, my business, um, just everything. I think it was the beginning of um, COVID, I believe. I can't really remember, but the quarantine was going on. It was just everything was shaken up, and I kind of wanted direction, and I was led to Maya, and so we started working together, and I really wanted to know why it was so hard for my son's mom and I to be together when we loved each other so much. But there was fighting going on, and we didn't really understand because we were able to like step back and like, why does this keep happening? And so went into the cosmic records. And so that door I was talking about, the first thing that I saw was a deer. And the funny thing after that was I saw another deer, but it was of my son's mom, Angela. And and I started following her, and then she disappeared, and then I see a spider and I see a web, and I start seeing all these different kinds of animals. But the main thing that took me was the scenery. Being in that forest made me feel grounded, made me feel good. And then going through and seeing these, we'll call them guides, um, I started to run. I started to run in like a grassy field. And that running felt so effortless. And that allowed me to kind of feel how powerful, how strong I am, and how beautiful nature really is, and how much I'm connected with nature. And so within that door, the the animals, the deer was something that is uh I forgot completely what I wrote in the book about the deer, but essentially it was me stepping into that my own power, my own personal power, not giving it to someone else, but actually taking it. And so in the very beginning, I was scared, and I heard a voice say to have courage. And so that's when I started running, and I started running in this field, and then I stopped at an edge as if it's looking down into a canyon, and then I end up flying. And so I'm in the air flying and feeling that sense of freedom. Looking back, like I needed that feeling. I needed that feeling of freedom and the sense of exploration. Because for me, I think we were talking before the interview on not being in a box. And
Yeah.
for me, I just do not want to be put in a box or have these concrete things. I know things are dynamic. And so being, I called myself an eagle because it felt like I was an eagle. I couldn't really see myself, but I could feel what I was. And so then I fly, and then I end up landing on, I guess, another grassy area, but it was like a cave. It was like a hole, and then there's a cave that I like jumped into. And within that water, memories and kind of visions came to me to kind of usher me into the direction where I am today, which is very, very cool for me to actually be talking about it and seeing myself step into, I don't really know what to call myself, but I call myself a holistic coach because I do a little bit of Reiki, I do a little bit of breath work. I help people find their their purpose and their inner voice, really finding love for themselves, because that's what I've been searching for. And we always stray away from truly, truly loving ourselves and picking ourselves first. And so um, going into that pool of water that kind of refreshed me, and going through that whole place, from it changed from a forest to an open grassy meadow to kind of a vast canyon to inside of a cave and then back out to where I began. And I felt really tall, and what I thought I was a tree. Um, Having that groundedness, and I felt like I had so much wisdom, so much patience. Um, and so that door kind of allowed me to remember what it feels like to be grounded, to feel free, and to kind of step into my own personal power instead of giving it away like I did prior. And so that was a pretty profound door. Within the story, I go in more in depth with it, but people got to read it.
You gotta read it, guys. Come on. But it's just it's amazing the journey you went on. Like it was like one scene, it was like all the elementals, you're going through.
Mhm.
I thought it was so interesting when you said when you went in the water, you felt refreshed because you're in the infinite cosmic records. But could you explain, to people who've never done anything like this, right? Ever,
Mhm.
they might not understand, like when you go through the records, it's kind of like having a real experience in a sense.
Yeah, it it feels like a dream.
Mhm.
And for me, it was visceral because of like when I was running, it felt like I was running. When I was flying, it felt like I was flying. And it's hard to explain really unless you try it, unless you go in, but it does feel like a dream. I was still because when I'm telling Maya what I saw, what I was seeing in my head, there's other doors that I didn't believe it.
Oh.
So there's parts of me, I was like, I don't know if I'm really seeing this, but when I could feel it viscerally, especially this door, um, yeah, it made all the difference. I think um, going into the cosmic records, it allows your imagination to go,
Mm,
but you're still kind of coherent.
yeah, that's so cool. Wow. And what leads you to a doorway? Like when you're in that hallway and a door calls to you, you have so many options. Like what
Mhm.
makes you feel drawn to one door over another?
My just my intuition, just a quick, the first thing that pulls me, or the first, like there's doors, and usually for me it's no more than three. For some reason it's no more than three, and I will pick the first one that just calls to me. And it's hard to explain, but I kind of live my life exactly like that. The
Mhm.
first thing that comes up, because I know that when I second guess a lot of the thing, when I second guess my intuition or my inner knowing, um, life isn't as fun.
That's so cool. I think that's inspiring. You're sort of a leader as a divine masculine, in this work in this field. And I think it's a good reminder for other masculine as well, like go with your truth. Because sometimes I feel like the masculine have been so programmed to
Yeah.
go with the head, but the heart is, it's like right here almost. It's like it's together actually, and it's just this feeling, this intuition, which I think a lot of masculine are ready to activate their intuition, and their inner knowing. And so it's wonderful that you do this, training and healing work for others. You can help men and women,
Mm-hmm.
for their gifts. And I think that's what it's all about, where everyone's here to remind each other, like to come back to ourselves. And what you said about giving the power away, like I think there's nothing more important than calling back our power, our personal power, and the programming that we've all received is like give it up, give it away, like just
Yeah,
give it up, like don't even. And so coming back to yourself, calling back your natural innate power, because that power is divine in union with nature. It's not like it's not overpowering, it's your own divinity is what it really is. And so that's just, I think that's so beautiful. I really enjoyed seeing the scenery. I was there. I was like, wow, it's beautiful. Everything you're seeing, the deer. But what's more spectacular is what you called back in. And that's what I think within these doors is what's waiting for us is what we're already ready to receive. Do you think
yeah.
so? Yeah.
I truly believe so. I mean, I think the Infinite Cosmic Records is a grand, like, remembering
Mm,
of the different aspects of ourself that is calling to us, that we're pulled to, and that's what I use, that intuition to go to that door. I was pulled to it, and a lot of the time we're stuck in our heads on making a choice, and I'm just as indecisive as most people. But when it comes to certain things, specifically my development as a person, balancing that masculine and feminine
mm,
within us, requires you not to think with the head, because it won't make sense.
mm. Yeah.
And practicing, what I teach my clients is practicing how to connect to our soul. That's a big thing, and we could do it by feeling. I mean,
Mm,
there's the muscle testing. What I normally do with clients is muscle testing, or just practicing every day, hearing what voice comes up first of, like, what should I eat?
mhm.
We all innately know what's good for us.
Right.
And it's funny because I'm a health coach and a trainer, and people know. They just need someone else to tell them that they're right. And so, as far as with men, and balancing out their masculine with the feminine, because everyone has a masculine and everyone has a feminine, I think it's fear. I think it's really fear of allowing this thing, because the the left hemisphere of the brain is logic, and that's the masculine. The right side of the brain is intuition and creativity and flow, and that's the feminine. And some people use that testosterone is the logical
Mhm.
hormone, and estrogen is the emotional, the intuitive hormone. And so balancing that out within us, like, through our diet and lifestyle, is going to allow us to feel our intuition more.
That makes so much sense, of course, because it's all the elements, right? So you're
Mhm.
bringing all the foundational pillars, I guess, together, and that enhances us. It's true because so much of the toxins cause us to be blocked, so
Mhm.
it's kind of a battle out there. We gotta stay true to our health and well-being, and then our spiritual aspect, and this exploration, like the infinite cosmic records or energy healing. I would love to hear about maybe another doorway that really spoke to you, and what was it that called you to that doorway? What did you find inside?
Yeah. Um, the second doorway, I think it was right after that one. I think the door was it was a wooden door with a red hue. And again, I didn't I just went with my intuition, walked in, and um green grass, just the most vibrant green and blue sky. And I mean, the sceneries are always so beautiful in the cosmic records for me. Um, and that's what catches my eye first. Because we're all connected with nature, with Mother Earth, and Mother Earth is calling for us because of her beauty, and we're kind of not helping with her beauty right now. So, but going into the cosmic records, it's so beautiful. But I'm in that grassy landscape, and then I start floating up, and I'm like going in outer space, and I'm out there, and then I see kind of like these orbs or eggs. And what I think those were actually my idea of what happens before we come here. And so it was just like probably millions of these little orbs or eggs with either souls or babies or whatever it was. But essentially what came out of that door was me having this feeling of I chose this life.
Oh.
I chose this life, and that there's a reason why I'm going through. I mean, there's always a reason why we're going through what we're going through. There's always that lesson, but especially during that time in my life when I was going into the cosmic records, I didn't know why I felt so much pain, even though I brought so much love into this world. But I had to feel pain from a lot of people that I loved, and I was causing people pain,
Mhm.
the ones that I loved. And so walking through this door, going into outer space, seeing, or it felt like outer space, seeing all these orbs, seeing all these people choosing to come to Earth, um, allowed me to know and again ground myself in who I truly am.
Wow.
I am not just this Michael right now. I am many other forms of Michael that have experienced so many things,
Mhm.
and that it was by choice.
Mhm.
And so that gave me my power back on like things are happening for me, not to me.
Mm.
I'm learning how to not play the victim over
Mhm.
and over and over again, because then I didn't get to learn that lesson
Mhm.
if I see myself as the victim. And so I float back down, and it it brought a new sense of wholeness to myself. So that's why that door, I mean, it was cool seeing being in outer space and seeing all these little egg-shaped things,
That's so cool.
but like I had the choice.
Yeah.
I made the choice. And so like we all have this purpose, this mission to
Mhm.
achieve here in this lifetime. We just have to get out of our own way.
Mm. Wow. That is powerful. That's so interesting to be able to be witnessing of that choice point. And I can see how that just immediately brings you back to your inner power. Because if you chose to come here, if you chose all these experiences for better or worse, and now you can choose again, choose. I think when we remember that, that's the center of it all, right? That's the center of
Yep.
it all inside of us. And then we can say, okay, I've already chosen this much this far, and I get to continue to choose. And so it gives you that inner navigation comes back into you
Mm-hmm.
rather than this is all happening to me. Like, what's going on? We all feel
Yes.
that way sometimes, but like remembering that, I think that's just beautiful. I was going, wow. So you were in the actually like in the ethers or in outer space, or like tell me more about like what that looked like. I'm just so curious to see what the orbs were, they coming down to Earth? What
It
was
was almost as if the orbs were, I mean, they were floating, but it was almost like there's an orbit. And my take on the infinite cosmic records is we only know, we could only see what we know.
Mhm.
And so that it takes on what I would perceive of what where we are before we get into our bodies.
Mhm.
And so it felt like outer space. It felt like in the cosmos.
Wow.
And like it felt so vast. It didn't feel like right now, if I were to go look up outer space and it would be black or dark, that feels kind of a suppressed version. When
Mhm.
I was out there, it felt so expansive. It felt um I, it felt warm. That's for sure.
Really? So
It
cool.
it just I felt like I was like in a kind of an egg, but I was like thinking. And that's why I said an orb shape because I've studied a little bit of Dolores Cannon's work and how she describes a lot of the where it kind of that place where we kind of go in between lives, and it definitely didn't sound like that. And so that's why I think in my childlike mind, that is what I viewed where we are before we go into our bodies.
I love that. I think that's so interesting, and the visual is like outstanding, and I like that you said it was warm. It's interesting too how you can feel like the temperature when you're in the records. Like that's kind of cool. Um, yeah, and I love Dolores Cannon too. Wow, incredible books and woman, and her body of work is quite outstanding. So
Yeah.
I think in many ways, like some people have compared Infinite Cosmic Records to the quantum healing hypnosis, which I've done myself too.
Mm-hmm.
So it is because you start to take on and see different aspects of yourself, or get information that's pertinent to you in this now moment. You're not going to get information that doesn't pertain to you and what's going on in your life. I really love what you said, that you see what you already know, or what your soul knows. um so do you want to share another door with us? Is there any other that stand out to you? Because you've been through quite a few.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, just so the audience could know, there are doors that, like, there's one door in particular that I went through and felt so scared.
Oh, wow.
Um, I felt so scared and I wanted to get out of that door, but I tried to stay in as long as I could, and
Hmm.
then I ended up leaving
Okay.
and just like getting out of there. I ended up going back later on, but that's an interesting thing too because um being able to feel that
Mm.
the anxiety, and I wish I didn't, like looking back, I wish I just like stayed in there, but I was so in the moment
Mm.
because it feels, to me it felt so real, and
Wow.
that panic set in.
Hmm.
um and so other than that door, because we went in mainly understanding my relationship with um my son's mom. um I was able to see her in different lifetimes.
Wow.
That was actually the first door I went through, was being able to see her. And it was like a it was like kind of felt like I was in like Robin Hood type of thing, where we're out in, like, there's like a, when I first set in, because this is the very first door I went through and I didn't know what to expect. Things started to appear one after another. So there's like a table, and then the table started having more food and stuff on there. And then you start seeing people, and like I saw Angela. and I saw, and she didn't exactly look like herself,
Mhm.
but I felt that that is her.
Mhm.
And and she was surrounded by all these guys, and she liked that, and I was playing shy, and we end up, so those guys start kind of hitting on her or whatever, and she was feeling uncomfortable, and I see that, and I kind of save her in the sense of like, oh, you want to go this way, blah blah blah, and we go into the forest and we run in the forest, and I felt like a whole life went by, and we were living in a cabin, um and she was with child, and these guys come back, and um it's going to get really serious. They take her, and they hurt her, and they kill me.
Mhm.
And what I got out of that um doorway was, I always, I mean, I'm a romantic at heart, and with Angela, I always chased. I always, like, I didn't give her enough space. And what I got out of that doorway was, if I keep running away, or if I keep pursuing Angela in the way that she doesn't want to be, I will always end up not in a good position.
Mm.
Allowing allowing space, allowing for things to happen was kind of the message that I got out of that doorway. Um, but going through it as the first door, I was like, man, this is intense. There's like fighting. I died. I felt the fear.
Uh-huh.
And then there's other doorways where I saw her as, I told you, as a deer.
Mm.
I saw her as a dragon.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and then at the very end, I saw her in a form that I've never seen, but always knew that's who she was. In peace, and bare feet, just being her, just being grounded. And yeah, and I feel like I have the gift of, and I never really knew this until recently, I feel like I have the gift of seeing someone's inner child. And that is what I saw with my son's mom at first. That's why I thought we thought that we were going to have a daughter first, because I had this vision of this little girl with brown hair. Um, and we ended up having a little boy with brown hair. And but helping my clients through a lot of what they're going through, I started seeing that I connect with their inner child,
Mm.
because a lot of my work after working with Maya has been working on that inner child, to love that little Michael that felt abandoned, that felt shame, that felt all these emotions. And in doing so, I woke up to that sense of feeling people's inner children, essentially.
That's a gift. That's such a gift because everyone has an inner child, you know, and our inner child can really act out if it's not tended to, right? That's when we,
Yeah,
fits and we're upset, and um it's so underplayed the importance of learning to like be our own parent in some ways.
yeah,
Like reparenting ourselves is, I think it's the most important thing ever.
I think so too.
I mean,
I
and I
think most of our, let's say, problems or lessons
mm,
came from
yeah,
our caregivers,
yeah.
and we will. what happens with, let's say, trauma, because there's big T trauma and there's little T trauma. All of us have these little T traumas, no matter what.
Yeah.
And trauma is just not what happened to you, but what is happening inside of you
Mm.
because of that. So
Wow.
we're going to keep replaying it. The body is an electrical system.
Yeah.
And at that point, that memory that is stuck with the inside of us
Mhm.
will always replay. And so that's why we see in relationships sometimes that people will date a similar person
Yeah.
to get that lesson, but it's the body, it's the body's nervous system wanting to find the answer to the question, which was the trauma. And
Yeah.
so when we're young and we don't get the love that we needed, you could have four children in the same family, totally different like life compared to what they see from
Mhm.
their own perspective.
Yeah.
And I want to believe that most, if not all parents are doing their best.
Mhm.
And I mean, as a parent, I know that I'm going to make Quest, who's my son's name,
Mm.
um, mad, or and that's going to stick with him, and that's going to carry on. And so as adults, we have to learn that there are points in our life that our nervous system wants to replay
Mhm.
because we didn't get the love that we need, or we didn't get the thing that we needed at that time. And it's up to us. And what I'm finding is healing happens in relationship,
Mm.
either relationship with ourselves, but
Mhm.
mainly relationship with another, because that's where the disconnection happened. And
Mhm.
that's why, I mean, Freud and Jung always use like the mother or the father or whatever to say that's where your problems stem from. And we will keep replaying it. And so the
Mm.
cosmic records actually allows me to replay
Mm.
specific feelings so that my nervous system could say, okay, that's the answer. I'm going to calm down and I won't try to replay this over again so you get the lesson.
Wow. That's so profound. I really like how you explained it. Like that is so, yeah, I mean that makes so much sense. Like we are always seeking that answer, the answer, like, why was I abandoned? Why did you leave me? Or if somebody had experienced abuse as a child, like why do they keep going into those abusive relationships? Because they want to resolve that.
Yes.
Oh, and so I think it's interesting when you said like you going back into the records, like you faced some of your fears, right? And
Oh, yeah.
that's not exactly a bad thing. Since people listening will be like, well, I don't want to go, but that's the whole point, is it's a safe place where you can actually play out these nervous system patternings and things like that. And you're not going to like you're not going to get hurt in there.
No.
Hmm.
And if people are nervous or scared of going into those fears, the thing is, when you get past it, you won't fear it anymore. That's the thing. It's the nervous system will say, okay, boom, over. And so our life, we have capacity, right? And most people, when we're super stressed, we reach that capacity.
Mm-hmm.
When you get out of the cosmic records, you feel lighter because you went through this thing and you relived it and you let go that electrical charge. So instead of having this much capacity, you let go some electrical charge, because we're just the nervous system's the electrical um, grid, right? And so when you let go of that thing that you've been holding, suppressing, repressing inside of you, then you gain more capacity to do, more capacity to feel. And so that that nervousness going in, what I always tell my clients is, where there's resistance, that's the answer.
Wow. Where there's resistance, that's the answer. That makes sense to me. Like, whenever is this working out? Just do
And
it.
then again, it's like if we resist, it will persist.
Yeah.
And we see that over and over again when we try to um have a better lifestyle. We know we need to do something, and then we kind of resist because we're like, it's a little too hard. Then we get a little bit unhealthier, or our relationship doesn't get better, and we do it until we are like, okay, I really want to change, and then you step through that door.
Wow. Courage is such a big thing.
Hmm.
It is a big thing to face our fears. Like we all have our thing that's like we hit the wall with, like we don't know why that's happening, but having the courage to step into it, to face it. Yeah, like it can be nerve-wracking. I experienced that too in the records where I faced a big fear and it was like, "Ooh, I want to leave now. This feels really scary and uncomfortable and I'm getting triggered and there's trauma that's actually coming up." But then I was like, "No, just stay with it, like let's just
Hmm.
I'm here with you." So I calmed down and I breathed that I had to be like, okay, like breathe through it. And then it feels like it starts to untangle, like if you don't run away from it, it starts to disintegrate. It's almost like we have to be the witnessing entity to our own trauma too, and
Hmm.
compassionately.
Yeah. And that's dissociation. When something happened to us, our body, our ego, our mind, our psyche wants to protect us. So we disassociate from that point of time. In the cosmic records, it allows you to associate. It allows you to go back to that point where you disassociated. You gave up a piece of your power. Your ego's there to protect you, not to allow you to grow.
Mm,
And so what I find going into the cosmic records is the ego is softened, just
mm.
like plant medicine. The reason why plant medicine is so profound for a lot of people is because it erases that ego. It takes it out for just a little bit so you could step through that fear.
Mm. Wow. I really appreciate how candid you are, because it takes courage even to say, like, hey, I faced this and it was scary. Most people don't even want to admit that. And I think the truth is we all go through that. Like we're all learning and growing as we go and remembering too, right? All the magic too, remembering the magic. But we we've been given a big responsibility in some ways where we are untangling a lot of the patternings of our lineages that
Yeah.
came before us. And we're here, I believe we're really here now to face these things with courage in our heart and humility to be like, I could do, this scares me, but I'm still going to do it. Humility is really important. So I admire that. I think I think it's beautiful. You're a leading example for men about how to
Thank you.
heal and how to step into the courage. And so I really admire you in your courage and also how you bring it forth in the work that you do now and helping others as well. What makes you an expert is that you've stepped into these scenarios so many times. You've done like so much of your own healing work. And of course it's ongoing for all of us.
Forever.
But
Yeah.
but the fact is, if we want to be great at this and be of service to others, we have to be willing to do the tough stuff too. And so,
Yeah.
bravo.
Yeah. I mean, you hit it right on the head where we have to do the tough stuff. If if we're here to help as many people as possible, we have to do the things that we find resistance in.
Mhm.
Because how are we to lead others if we can't step through that resistance? Because everybody has to step through that resistance.
Yeah.
And I think my background in I was a pole vaulter,
Oh, okay.
and the reason why I did it was because I was scared of heights,
Oh,
and I ended up paying college through pole vaulting. Um, and
wow.
a cool tidbit is that I was at that time 13th of all time of all Filipinos in the world for that height. And so, but it started young when we step through that. If we see our fear,
Mhm.
and we know that most of the time our fear is our ego trying to protect us but not allowing us to grow, then we could step through that fear because we know that we want to grow.
Mhm.
We want to be, we want to step into ourselves because we're not ourselves right now. We're shaking off all those programming. We're
Yeah.
shaking off what people had told us that are really lies, and we're starting to figure out who we truly are.
Mm, what a beautiful unfolding. Wow, well, thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate your generosity and just who you are as a person. And you're really a leading example. So I'm really happy that you're out in the world doing the work that you're doing and
Mhm.
sharing in this way because I know that it does make a difference in people's lives. And thank you so much for speaking on the Infinite Cosmic Records and your experience. And I'm really excited about this book, forthcoming because I feel that people reading it will get a lot out of it. And do you have any last thoughts on why people would enjoy reading this book?
Yeah, I think being able to see other people's perspectives allows us to align with our truth, because a lot of the time we feel our truth, but because we haven't heard any other people have that, some whatever, then it doesn't give us permission to actually feel and walk through our truth. And I think the experiences that we have in the Infinite Cosmic Records allows us to see how human and how more than human we really are, and that we could essentially create the life that we want because we came here for a purpose, to have a good time.
That's right. That's right. That's beautiful. What a great reminder. Yeah, that's right. We're also here for the joy, guys. Don't forget that, right?
Mhm.
We're here for the joy of the whole experience. So, well, thank you so much, Michael. You're always an inspiration to talk to, never boring, always enlightening. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you all for tuning in. I will put Michael's information below if you'd like to work with him as well and the Infinite Cosmic Records. Bye for now.